These thoughts up in my head. Things I never did. I took some L's, but I'm still here.
I got these thoughts up in my head. I toss and turn about some things I never said. I got regrets about some things I never did. I took some risks and took some L's, but I'm still here. And I know.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Overthinking Thoughts Pod. I'm your host, Ed. And as always, journey with me as we pursue greatness in a world full of chaos. This episode's going to be a little different. I tried to record it once. I made it all the way through. I didn't like it. I feel like I've been doing that lately, but that's okay. I want to make sure I do this the right way. But this episode is going to be a little different from what I usually do, because I know I'm more so trying to motivate and encourage and uplift, which there might be a little bit of that in here, but I guess I never thought that when I was doing this podcast stuff that I would start an episode like this or have an episode like this, but here we go. On Monday morning, I woke up to a text from a former student of mine. It got sent at like 1:30. I didn't get it till 6:30. I woke up and I read these words where it said, Emmanuel has passed away. And took me a minute to kind of gather myself, and then I realized that was a former player / student of mine. I didn't want to believe it. I thought that I was dreaming, So I did what most people do. I got right to social media. I'm checking stuff, and very first thing I saw was a picture of Emmanuel going to prom. And he didn't make it. It's 19, shot and killed. I'm not sure all the details. Don't know everything that happened, but 19. And I think what bothers me the most is that this ain't the first time I've had to experience this. First player I ever lost was he was a good dude. His name was Reno. And it's just never something that you think that you'll go through, and then it happens. And you have to process it, and it just doesn't feel good in the moment, And then you hope that as time goes on, things get better, and then you hear all these stories and you're reading stuff, and I'm seeing stuff in the news or people posting things on social media, and there's times where I'm like, man, I pray that doesn't happen to anybody I know. I don't want anybody in my circle getting caught up like that. And then it happens, and now you're like, now what? And Emmanuel was loved, man. There were a lot of people that loved him. And I've got former players and students that, as I scroll through, I'm seeing memories and stories and it's beautiful because they were able to have that friendship, that relationship. They were able to, go to prom and graduate, and that was cool. And last time I saw him was at his graduation, and he was talking about how he was going to start his he was going into like trade. I think he was going to do like HVAC or something like that, and he was talking about like how that's what he wanted to do, and he knew that he wasn't going to go the traditional college route, but he knew that he wanted to do something, and he found it. And when he found it, he's like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And I said, it makes you happy. And he was like, yeah, man. He's like, I always remember, like, I'll always listen to you, coach. You always was telling me what to do, like, keeping me on track. And, I'm going to do my best. And there was no doubt in my mind that he wasn't going to do, like, I knew he was going to do his best. And then to know that, like, to see his picture and to be told that he's no longer here, it's like when my when my other player Reno, when he passed away a few years ago due to gun violence, it was like waiting on him to pop up at some point. You know what I'm saying? And realizing that that's not going to happen. It sucks, man. It sucks because you lose somebody that you really cared about and you want to watch grow, right? But then the other part that's really bad is watching family members have to deal with moving on without their loved one. Watching friends who are having to process this now, having to speak on the life of someone that they just saw a couple of days ago. I mean, it definitely makes you think about life and how precious life is. But I think the part that frustrates me is that it seems like the more you read about these stories about these kids losing their life to gun violence, it just seems like the more younger they are, 19, 18, 16. I think one I saw was like 14, and I never really I guess I never thought that I would see it in my lifetime. Like it just was never a thing that registered to me, but it's like, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the whole thing. Like I'm still trying to understand it and I know I can't. It's not it's definitely not something I can break down and figure out, but I wish I could cuz I just don't understand. And I was trying to figure out like how I wanted to address this, how I want to talk about it, but I don't really know how. I mean, I'm at a loss for words for real, like in the sense of just tired of watching students die to gun violence. Tired of hearing about kids who were these great students or they were trying to figure their life out and then their life is cut short by a bullet, a bad argument, wrong place, wrong time, some altercation, like whatever. These kids ain't here, man. Like it seems like it's more common too. Seems like almost every other day there's somebody being shot at or there's a shooting and people are going through with that. And I'm not here to talk about like, well, here's what we should do about guns, this, that, and the third. Like I'm more so here to talk about our youth and why are we what's making you turn to that? Like what is it inside of you that gets you so angry that your thought is, I don't want this person to live anymore, so I'm going to kill them to where they don't exist. And then the problem is because in that moment when that happens, you ruin a life of somebody, but you also ruin yours. Because now it's 25 to life. It's having to carry that burden. It's looking back at it and realizing that had you just made one different choice or said one thing that could have been positive to help build or mend whatever that conflict was or just being careless, like if you were to be more careful about what you were doing and not being influenced by whatever or being under the influence of whatever, it could change the way that these lives are looked at. Young black men deserve to grow old. Young black men deserve to have a full life. They deserve to find their calling and live it all the way to the fullest. It shouldn't go down like this. I don't know what draws that type of attention. Maybe I'm just out of touch or I just don't understand the concept or what's going on. Maybe I'm too far removed. I have no idea, but I think we become so numb to it because it seems like almost every other day it's happening. But what's going on in the minds of these kids who decide that that's the route that they want to take. I'm in no way, shape, or form trying to like talk down or speak ill, but I am just trying to understand and comprehend. Like I get having disputes, I get being angry, I get not seeing eye to eye, but I would never get to the point of being like, I don't want this person to live anymore. I pray to God that I never get put in a situation like that. I think I also need to pray that our young men turn away from that as well. We're losing future coaches, future teachers, future entrepreneurs, mentors, doctors, lawyers, businessmen. We're losing those people. And the worst part is, it's like, I've seen it too often. It hit hard the first time I experienced it when I lost a great kid who I coached, and having to look at his brother and figure out how's he gonna navigate and see his mom and his younger sister and his dad and just figuring out like how are they processing it. Because I can offer condolences, loves, and prayers, but I can't fathom what they're going through, and then being there to be support for others who don't know how to handle the news that somebody they went to school with, somebody they built relationships with and had great friendships with and shared class time and fun times together. How do they consult that loss? Like, how do they deal with that? It shouldn't be a thing that we get accustomed to. I don't want to just be like, oh man, another student. I don't want to do that. I want our students to continue to grow and become better. I want our gun violence to just stop. I don't want young black males looking at other black males and deciding that, okay, if you got what I want or if there's some type of beef, I'm just gonna take you out. Like, that's not it, man. That's not it. And I guess like in the moment, I'm just having a tough time wrapping my head around it because it doesn't seem real. It doesn't seem like it's reality that this happened. It doesn't seem like this is a real thing. Like we should be talking about this. But the reality is the more I got on social media, the more I saw pictures and people sharing nothing but great words about this young man. And then I saw the news story and two young man players that I've been fortunate enough to coach, listening to their words and how mature they were and how much love they had for this young man. Talking to my former like kid that I named captain and asking him how he's feeling, and for me to know that he's struggling so bad right now because that was like his right hand man, and now he's got to go through life without him. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair that kids are losing their lives at 19. They don't even get a chance to see 21 or 20 for that matter. They're not even like able to experience it. It sucks, man. And the more I think about it, the more I just think about like I just I hope he knew like that people loved him and that people cared about him and people were like they were there for him. They believed in him. I felt the same way when Reno passed. Just I remember like I just hope he knew how much I loved him, and I hope that Emmanuel knew that as well because he was a kid that I was able to coach and watch grow and just I'm thinking about like just him on the court. He was one of the best defenders, man. He was great because he loved it. Like that was just like his thing. And then like to grow, like I remember one time in practice, I was frustrated with him because he just wasn't doing what we were trying to get him to do. And I'm like going off as a coach. I'm like, come on, man, like you better than this. You gotta know better. Like you can't keep making the same mistakes over and over again, man. Like somebody else get him this, that, and the third. And I just remember I watched him in that moment. And it was a very like eye-opening moment for me because I watched that what you say to people has the power to encourage or discourage. And in that moment, I was so frustrated. I watched him like kind of shrink. And I said, oh man. So I walked up to him and I said, you don't do well when people yell, do you? And he's like, nah. And I said, what will help you? And he's like, just tell me what I need to do. Like, I know you're going to be frustrated. I know you're going to push me, but just come to me and let me know what I need. And I'll give you my best. And he did. And it helped me to realize like what you say really matters. Who's talking to these young kids that are going out here and deciding that it's okay to rob or steal or kill? You know what I'm saying? Like, who's talking to these kids? Do you have mentors? Do you have people that are with you? Because we don't need to see you out in the street toting a gun and just shooting to shoot, you know? I worked with a woman whose son was lost to gun violence. Shot in front of his own house. Because I don't know the whole story, but because of a conflict or a dispute or whatever, and regardless of what it is, did it have to resort to that? Like, did it have to go that far? Did it have to was the only solution having to watch someone lose their life? Was that it? No. No, man. Like, I don't think that's normal. I don't think it's right that a kid can't live to see an old age. I don't think it's right that kids are beefing with each other and getting into those points. I don't think that's right, man. I don't think it's fair. I wish that I could just talk to him and be like, look, man, you got a purpose more so than what you think you do. Gotta live it. It's gonna be different, but it'll give you life. you know? That's what I want for you. But I want to get to the point where we never have to see that another young man was shot and killed, or another student lost their life, or 19-year-old insert name here. Like, I want that to stop so bad, but I just am having a really tough time trying to figure out why. And I just needed to vent on this because it hurts, man. Because I know that so many people are impacted by this. And I know that there's so many more names that go unannounced and so many more tragedies that happen, and it shouldn't be that way. I think when we envisioned the future back then when I was younger, we talked about flying cars and like buildings and space and stuff like that. I never envisioned a world where we'd be talking about kids being shot and killed at young ages, or conflicts happening where it's right at the tip of our or like right on our phone, and we can see it, and we become so like, I don't want to say numb, but like it seems like it's common, and we're just kind of hoping like, well, I hope today it isn't somebody I know. It's a sad reality, man. Too many, it happens too much. It happens too much. And you young men, man, you need to know like there's more to life than what you see in front of you. You might not believe it and you might not see it right away, but there's people that want to see you grow. There's people that actually believe in you and want you to do well. There's people that don't want you to go down this route of throwing your life away because you got angry or you decided like this was the only route that you could take, because the reality is that's not true. And these bullets have no respect for you. The gun in itself has no respect for you. The streets, they ain't got no respect for you. Like, you look at shows that kind of talk about these things, like the main character in Snowfall was at the top, and then look at where he ended up. Look at any character on The Wire. See how that happened. Now this is based on stuff that we've seen in life, but it seems like it becomes more and more reality every day we live because it's always in the news or it's a new story. Like just this weekend, man, I'm reading there were all types of shootings that happened this weekend. But why though? Like what's going on that it's it's come to this? I think about my son. He's 10. I got to talk to him about these things. I got to make sure that he's careful with where he goes, what he says, what he does, who he's with, how he carries himself, how he reacts to things, which are all good things to have, but becomes more of an issue when you don't know what the other person's intentions are. If you said something or have done something, or if you've accidentally done something, that could be the last straw for somebody. We don't know. It shouldn't be that way, but here we are. I think about that often. And I think about kids that I've coached and kids that I've mentored and kids that I've been able to talk to or been a part of, watching them grow through their high school years. Like I think about their futures because I want to see them grow. And like we're like, man, these kids are gonna grow and do this and do that. And then you hear these stories and you just don't. It just doesn't sit well. Doesn't feel good. Just to know that a lot of these kids are grieving because they lost somebody. That don't sit right with me. I'm constantly trying to check in just to make sure they're all right and tell them to hold their heads high and find a way to try to do their best to live the best life that they can moving forward from a tragedy like the one that we woke up to, when I woke up to on Monday. My energy's off. I'm sorry, man. Like I'm having a tough time. I'm having a tough time trying to figure this out. I shot another episode. That's not the word I want to use. Good. Oh, I'm sorry. I recorded an episode before this and I thought that maybe that was it, but it just didn't sit right. Like, I mean, it was fine, but I just didn't feel like it caught all my thoughts. And maybe I should have let it go, but that's the overthinking side of me. But I wanted to, I guess I wanted to, I don't know, add more or try to find more understanding. I don't know. Like I'm at such a weird spot right now. And I know it's gonna take some time. But I feel for those kids who are grieving the loss of a beloved classmate, a best friend, a person who definitely cared for others. Like that. That's what we lost. We lost a young man who had so much skill, so much potential, so much promise. And to watch it be cut short is just something that it don't sit right. It's not cool. It's not something to be glamorized, man. And then these kids who should be enjoying the summer, who should be planning trips and create memories before they go all their separate ways to go to college. Like that's what they should be doing. They shouldn't have to bury a classmate. They shouldn't have to do that. If there was a way to give hope in this situation, I guess the one thing that we can do is carry the legacy of this young man with us everywhere we go, and to know that he would have wanted us to just keep going. I feel like if there was actually, when I was at work and I called my wife up just to, I guess try to understand it all. And I was sitting on this bench outside, and it was before all this like crazy pollution and stuff was happening with the air. And I'm sitting there And I just so happened to look to my right, and I looked up in the sky, and it was cloudy. And there was this one spot that had this like sunbeam that was just shining down. It was beautiful. And it was almost as if like it kind of made me feel like he just was like, "Hey man, I'm good up here. Like I'm straight. You ain't got to worry about me. Like I'm good." And like I hope that that's like what that was. At least that's how I'm going to take it, but just wish he was down here to have more conversations or walk into the gym and see him and listen to him talk about how he's gonna beat me 1-on-1. He got heart though. He got heart, man. Long live E, man. Long live Reno. Long live Eric Shields. And anybody else who's gone through that situation of having to bury someone at such a young age. But I don't know. I would just ask that if you're the praying type, to pray for Emmanuel and his family and all his friends and supporters in the school and just everybody who has ever been able to be in his presence or just to be blessed by his friendship or just his presence, definitely lift him up in prayer. And to my generation, if you're seeing younger kids that are struggling with conflicts and you could tell they're getting ready to head down a road they shouldn't, listen to them, talk to them, hear them. Because you listening to them just might change their perspective and perhaps save their life and the lives of others. And if you're fortunate enough to be in a position where you can mentor to the youth, give them hope. Let them know that there's more to what they see in their environment. Let them know that there's a whole world out there full of promise and opportunity, that they don't have to turn to the streets. If you're a young person listening to this right now, you don't have to turn to that violence. You don't have to pick up a gun to solve issues. Find who you are, find your identity. So that way you can move forward. And if you do get caught in a conflict, or if there is something that arises, you're able to resolve it in a way that brings positivity. Because I don't want another 19-year-old to be buried because they were shot and killed. Gun violence ain't it. To our youth, that ain't it. Because once it's done, it's done. And you can't bring that person back. It ain't, oh, I wanted to see how this was going to happen. All right, cool, wake up. Like, that's not how it works. You have more life to give. You have purpose. And if you're conflicted, I hope you have a mentor or somebody that you could talk to figure these things out. And if you don't, man, I'll listen. And to those that are grieving right now, and to those that I know that are having a tough time, grieve. Make sure you do that. But also live and do your best to hold on to hope, and knowing that although this is a tragedy, there's some growth to come out of this. And I know that's probably not easy to hear right now, but there's a plan for everything. And I pray that it motivates you to change this world for the better, because you all have the power to be able to do that. I usually give a task this week, man. My goal this week, if you got conflicts, if you got issues, if you got things you need to resolve, if there's people that you are at odds with, man, bury the hatchet. Forgive and forget. Let go of grudges, let go of hate, let go of pain, let go of anger. Don't turn to violence. Don't turn to hatred. If you are spiritual, turn to God, because God has a word. He's got hope for you. Plans for you to prosper and not harm you. Plans for hope and a future. Find that purpose. And I pray that we never I pray that one day we can move forward from this. I just got to trust God. But to Emmanuel and all those that knew him, may God bless him. May God rest his soul. And if you're grieving or if you need anything, I'm here. And I love you.